Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to get right into it. Today's message is called Acknowledgement versus Accountability. Acknowledgement versus accountability. And I believe that this message is going to be important because while we do need both, we do need to understand the differences between both. While we do need both acknowledgement and accountability to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be, we do need acknowledgement and accountability. So, with that being said, this message is for anyone who feels this message is for anyone looking for more control, anyone looking for more control in their mind, in their heart, in their habits, in their relationships, and in their life. This message is for anyone that is looking for more control in their mind, their heart, their habits, their relationship, and in their life. So I won't hold you any longer. Let's get right into it. Before we break down the difference between acknowledging and being held accountable, I want to give you the definitions of both. The definition of acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is a noun. It means to accept or admit the existence or the truth of something. Acknowledgement simply means to admit that something exists. A synonym of acknowledgement is admit, is accept, is recognize, or realize. So when you acknowledge something, you either admit it, you accept it, you recognize it, or you realize it. Now, it's very different from being accountable to something because while acknowledgement is a noun, being held accountable is an adjective. And it means required or expected to justify the actions or the decisions of something. Being held accountable means to being required or expected to justify the actions or the decisions of something. The synonyms of accountable are liable, answerable, culpable, and my favorite, responsible. So it's one thing to recognize something and to realize something. It's a completely different thing to be held responsible for something. And when you know that you are being held responsible for something, you move different, you act different, you think different, and you talk different. Your habits become choices the second that you see the pattern in them. Your habits become choices the very second that you see the patterns in them. And I say that because the definition of habit means a usual way of behaving. It also means something that a person does often in a repeated way. Something that someone does often in a repeated way. So in order for you to fall into a habit, or as most people say, slip into a habit of doing something, saying something, or being something, you begin to do something in a regular way without realizing that you are doing it. So in order to slip into a habit or to fall into a habit, most people will not have the acknowledgement of that habit. So once you have the acknowledgement of that habit, that is merely the first step. It's a necessary step, but it is merely only the first step. Acknowledging is the first step in creating. Acknowledging is the first step in creating change. Accountability is the first step in keeping it. I'll say that again. Acknowledgement is the first step in creating change, but accountability is the first step in keeping it. If you acknowledge something, but you never take accountability for it, you never take accountability to change it, then you're choosing it. If you acknowledge something, but you never take accountability to change it, then you're choosing it. If you see that something is hurting you, if you see that something is hurting your family, if you see that something is hurting the people that you care about, or if you see that something is detrimental to what you say you want, if you see that something is detrimental to your progression, if you see that something is detrimental to your mental health, if you see that something is detrimental to your body, to your health, to your diet, to you staying alive, but you continue to do that, that then becomes a choice. And that can be a very slippery slope, because the more that you make those choices, the easier it is to become addicted to your choices. And addiction can be anything. Addiction can be drugs, addiction can be sweets, addiction can be food, addiction can be television, addiction can be you making excuses or you procrastinating. Because the second that you know you're doing something, but you refuse to change it, you choose it. And if you continue to choose it, it is very easy to become addicted to it. If you continue to choose it, it is very easy to become addicted to it. In the mind, we have a cycle of 21 days when it comes to forming a habit. If you continue to do these things and it becomes normal to you, you won't even realize that it is a habit. And if you stop and then you restart and you continue to make those choices, you won't even realize that it becomes a habit. This is one of the reasons that if you do have problems with your diet, or if you are addicted to something, it's very easy to relapse, and then that relapse becomes just as hard, if not harder, because we've just restarted that habit. You have to understand that your choices are up to you. And once you acknowledge that you have the information, it's up to you. We perish because of lack of knowledge, but it is still our responsibility, or we are still held accountable to go and get that knowledge. Just because you don't know what's in the Bible does not mean that you will not be judged, because you still have had the opportunity to read the Bible. Just because you do not know the information in your class does not mean that you still won't be graded fairly with the rest of the students, because everybody had the same time, everybody had the same textbook, everybody had the same homework or the same information. So acknowledging something and then being held accountable for it are two very different things. And I say that because of this very important statement, and I want you to carry this in your heart, not just for you as a person and in your self-love journey, but in the journey of loving anyone else. It's a difference between seeing you hurt and seeing that I hurt you. There is a difference between seeing that you're hurt and seeing that I hurt you. And this is the crux of the battle between accountability and acknowledgement. Because all your actions and emotions should be acknowledged. But I am not accountable for all of your actions and emotions. You are. You are not accountable for all of my actions and emotions. I am. And the only reason I say that is because you cannot make anyone do anything. You cannot make anyone do anything. So in the terms of your self-love, you need to ask yourself, when you feel like this, or when you begin to acknowledge the things that are controlling you or the things that you are trying to get past, what did I do or say to lead me to feeling this way? What did I do or say to lead me to feeling this way? And if the answer to that question is being repeated day after day or week after week, you now see that you have formed a habit. And now that you acknowledge that habit, you are now held accountable for changing that habit. And the same works for relationships. The same works for relationships. The next time you and your partner have a discussion, have a conversation, and they're bringing up something that they feel needs to be worked on, something that they feel needs to be improved in the relationship, something that they're telling you you did wrong, or you made them feel a certain way, it is imperative that you ask them. You take yourself out of it and you genuinely ask them, what did I do or say to make you feel this way? Because I acknowledge that you feel this way. I do not want you to feel this way. What did I do or say to make you feel this way? Because that is all I can take control of. That is all I can be held accountable for. I can only be held accountable for my actions, my words, my thoughts, my heart, and my mind. And intentions and actions are two different things. So while you can acknowledge someone's intentions, they still have to be held accountable for their actions. While you can acknowledge someone's intentions, they still have to be held accountable for their actions. You can have the best of intentions, but if you're not, I can have the best of intentions, let me say. But if I am not loving you the way that you need to be loved, I'm not doing good. I'm not doing right. Or if you're telling me, hey, Simeon, I don't like this, but I continue to do that, I can have the best intentions, but I'm not giving you what you need. I'm giving you what I want you to have. So the next time that you have that conversation, ask them, what did I do or what did I say to lead you to feel this way? And the reason I say lead is because, again, you cannot make someone do anything. You cannot make someone feel anything. You can influence them. You can even coerce them, sadly. But you cannot make anyone do anything because they are accountable for their actions. And just as much as they are accountable for their own actions, you are accountable for your actions. So you will be held accountable for leading them astray, for leading them back into their temptation, for leading them back into their addiction, for whatever you may do or say that might afflict them or affect them in a negative way. You will be held accountable. But you can only be held accountable for your actions, your words, your intention, your mind, and your heart. So the next time that that does come up, you have to make sure that you take yourself out of it, but at the same time, make sure that you are at the center of it. Take the subjectiveness out of it. Take the fact that you are the one that could be hurting or harming them, and look at the problem. Don't look at what your partner is saying, look at the problem. Because oftentimes when we have somebody that we love or we have something that we love and it's just not working out, it's very easy for us to feel like we are the problem. When they're telling us that there is a problem, we're not looking at the problem. We're looking at ourselves and thinking that they're calling us the problem. Don't fight your partner, fight the problem. And you can't fight the problem until you take yourself out of it, but make yourself the center of it at the same time. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I acknowledge how you feel. Tell me what I did or said so that I can be held accountable and hold myself accountable for what I did, and in the future, hold myself accountable to make sure I don't do it again. Do you merely acknowledge where you are at in life, or do you hold yourself accountable for it? That is the one question I want you to ask yourself today. Do you merely acknowledge where you are at in life, or do you hold yourself accountable for it? And the reason that I ask that is because so many of us, especially in America right now, crazy, we feel that life is happening to us. We feel that life is happening to us. I mean, you got bills, you got tariffs now. You got racism, you got sexism, you got transphobia, you got you have so many different things that on a daily basis now seem to be getting harder and harder when they should be getting easier, when we should have more love, because now we have more information, now we have understanding. But that is the problem. Everybody can acknowledge the difference between race. Everybody can acknowledge the difference between gender. Everybody can acknowledge that everybody has their own opinion and everybody has their own life. But yet everybody is trying to hold someone else accountable for their own. Everyone is trying to hold someone else accountable for their own. Yes, the system is messed up. Yes, there is a lot of hate. There will always be a lot of hate, unfortunately. But there is no reason not to shine your light. I can't see at night because of my retinitis pigmentosa. I can't see half the time, if I'm being completely honest, but I can't see at all at night. It's almost pitch black to me. Is that an excuse not to shine my light? For me, that's even more of a reason, because I can't see. So in order for me to move, in order for me to live my life the way I need to, in order for me to get to the gym, in order for me to go to work, in order for me to do these things, I have to shine my light so that I can walk my path. I literally have to shine my flashlight so that I can walk my path. It does not matter how much darkness is in or around you. There is never an excuse not to shine your light. So you can acknowledge all the pain, and you can acknowledge all of the things wrong in life, but you still have to hold yourself accountable for the wrong that you are doing to your life, for the wrong that you're enabling life to do. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. And if you don't take what life is giving you, if you do not take what life is giving you and learn from it and grow from it and acknowledge it and then take accountability for it, because now I have the information, but now I have to put it into action. Acknowledgement is having information. Accountability is putting it into action. Acknowledgement is having information. Accountability is putting that information into action. Because even after acknowledging the injustices in the world, you are still held accountable for your own life. Even after acknowledging all of the injustices in the world, you will still be held accountable for your own life. And even more so, you will be held accountable for how you influence, impact, and affect the lives of others. So if you can acknowledge that life is bad, or that life needs to be fixed, or that there are so many things that we do need to work on, but you don't work on any of those things in your own life, you will be held even more accountable, because now you've already acknowledged it. Now you already see the sin. Now you already see the problems, but you don't change them in your life, you will be held even more accountable. So this is why acknowledgement is very important, but accountability is even more important. And I want to ask you, if you never acknowledge it in your head, can you ever truly take accountability with your heart? If you never acknowledge something in your head, can you ever truly take accountability for it in your heart? I'll tell you the answer is no. If you never acknowledge anything in your head, then you can never take accountability for that thing in your heart. If your mind never changes how you think or how you think of things, then your mouth will never change how you say things. If your mind never changes how you think of things, your body or your actions will never change how it acts, or if it acts. Because that is the problem with so many people. We feel helpless. So many people feel helpless because they acknowledge it. And there's so much information nowadays that there's so much to acknowledge. There's so much wrong to acknowledge. And so many people feel powerless or weak, even if they do have power, to take accountability for it for other people or even in their own lives. You have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it in your mind. And if you do not acknowledge it in your mind, you cannot acknowledge it in your mouth. You cannot acknowledge it in your heart, and you cannot acknowledge it in your body, because actions will speak louder than words. But words are very important. So what are the words that you're telling yourself? Because it's one thing to acknowledge something in your mind, but it's another to form the habit of actually believing what you say. So many people have acknowledged the negative, and they repeat this. They have formed a negative habit in their mind and in their life. So it's going to be harder to take accountability for a positive action or a positive way forward, because we have already formed a habit. We have already formed a habit of making things negative, or only seeing the negative, or seeing the negative first. I challenge you to see the positive first. I challenge you to acknowledge what is good. I challenge you to be grateful. I challenge you to be thankful, regardless of what is going on in your life. Regardless of how you feel, smile, because that's a choice. You have to take accountability for your own happiness. You have to take accountability for your own happiness. So regardless of what is happening, I want you to smile. Regardless of what is happening, I want you to meditate. Regardless of what is happening, I want you to pray. And more importantly than pray, I want you to believe what you are praying for. I want you to believe in who you are praying to. I want you to take accountability for your life, because prayer without works is dead. But while you are praying, I want you to take accountability for your actions. Because if you do not take accountability for your actions, then your prayers are going to fall on deaf ears. Because it's one thing to say it. It's one thing to think it. It is a completely different thing to believe it and then do it. So that is why accountability is very important. And I'll give you that again. The definition of acknowledgement means to accept or admit the existence of something or the truth of something. It means to admit, to accept, to recognize, or to realize. But being held accountable for something means that you are required, you are expected to justify your actions or your decisions. You are responsible for what you say. You are responsible for what you do. You are responsible for the music you listen to, for the movies you watch, for the friends that you have, for the family you have and how you interact with them and the family you choose to have. You are liable for what you say. You are liable for your word. You are answerable, number one, to yourself, because your word should mean something, but you are also answerable to God. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that you will be accountable for every word you say. You will be accountable for everything you do. So the next time that you say the world needs help, think about that when you see one person that needs help on the corner. Think about that when you see one person that needs help under that bridge downtown. Because that is what you will be held accountable for. That is what you will be held accountable for. Not saying, oh, I'll do this when I have this, or I can do this, or other people should be doing more because they have more. You will not be held accountable for what they have or what they do with what they have. You will be held accountable for what you do with what you have. And if you do not hold yourself accountable, it will be hard for you to even get more. This is why the rich get richer and the poor stay poor or get poorer, because it is all about accountability. If we don't take accountability for our financial literacy, then we cannot get more. If we don't take accountability for our diet, we can't lose the weight that we've been crying about losing for years. If we don't take accountability for learning the things that we know we do not know, we remain ignorant. The Bible says even a fool is considered wise when he shuts his mouth. So many of us know that we don't know something or know that we should probably learn something, but we don't. And it never stops us from talking, or it never stops us from gossiping, or it never stops us from feeling how we want to feel. You have to remember that you will be held accountable for those words, and you will be held accountable for those thoughts, and you will be held accountable for those actions. And when you do, I want you to remember that you have complete control over your habits. You have complete control over your habits. I don't care if your father was an alcoholic, that does not mean you have to be one. I don't care whether your entire families are liars, you do not have to be one. Everyone in your family is tardy, late, or unaccountable. That is not you, because you choose who you want to be. You form your own habits. Your family doesn't. You form your own habits. Your race doesn't. You form your own habits. Your gender doesn't. You form your own habits, period. And until you realize that, it becomes hard to take accountability for it. Until you acknowledge that, it becomes hard to take accountability for it. So if you don't do anything else today, acknowledge the things that you want changed in 2025. You don't have to take accountability today. You don't have to create a plan. I just want you to figure out what you need to acknowledge this year. Do you talk too much? Do you have hate in your heart? Do you procrastinate? Are you lazy? Are you making excuses? What do you need to acknowledge, and what do you need to change? If you don't do anything else today or this weekend, acknowledge what you need to change. Meditate on that. Pray on that. Record it and listen back to it if you must. But I want you to acknowledge the things that you need to change, or the things that you need to work on, or the things that you need to make a habit because you've already acknowledged them. And then the next time we come back, we'll work on actually holding ourselves accountable for it, because you're not alone. You have God and you have me. So until next time, I hope this message has helped anyone who is looking for more control in their heart, their mind, their relationships, or their life. And I hope that this message stays with your heart And until next time, I love you, and I pray that you can take accountability and that you acknowledge these words. Amen. That was smooth.